Authority Alchemy.
Authority Alchemy.
The show for positioning yourself as the number one authority in your industry.
Quickly turn your prospects into clients and clients into raving fans.
Here are your hosts,
Brian Horn and Jack Mize.
Okay, folks, here we are. Another episode of Authority Alchemy. Of course, the show for building your authority, positioning yourself as that expert in your industry, and then how to leverage that positioning as well. This is Jack Mize, and I'm here with
Brian Horn.
That's right. So today we're going to get into some meat of of press releases, because one of the things that just really drives me nuts is when I see people talking about press releases are dead. How many times have you seen that over the last year?
Oh, people love saying it. Everything said. When something stops working for one person, their immediate thought is it's dead. It doesn't work anymore. There's no use for it.
Yeah, exactly. And why would press releases be dead? That's like such a broad statement, And usually you get it from the SEO jockeys. Sorry, SEO folks. SEO is very important.
Right here.
but they're really thinking about press releases are dead as far as SEO goes, and the way that they were used, because at one time they were pretty powerful for search engine optimization, right?
Yeah, it was, and even saying it's dead just for SEO, it's just dead, like you said, the way it used to be. I'm doing some cool stuff with them, right now with SEO. But, the people that used to use them, they'd buy just, unlimited releases from PR Web, hammer those out every single day just to build a bunch of backlinks. And that was their SEO strategy. And, Google caught on to that and shut that down. So now they're saying press releases just can't work for anything anymore ever.
Right. And so you said something interesting, backlinks. That was like what everybody used press releases for. It's like, forget about what the press releases say. Forget about anything interesting in there.
Right.
Let's just get, enough to get approved to make it look like news. But what we really want are those backlinks.
Right. Which at the time it worked. So that was a cool thing to do then. It's what worked. But yeah, that was the only thing people saw them for.
Just to link it back to your site. And yeah, like you said, it did work. I know everybody was doing it. And I think I saw a lot of people cry, probably for the first time in years, the day that Google said no. And that's the one thing, Google can wipe out a business model in an afternoon if they want to. And there's a lot of people that relied very heavily on press releases.
Oh, absolutely. I'm part of a SEO Mafia mastermind. We have a Skype group that's very active. And I remember that day on there, just some of the big SEO people everybody knows were just furious that day. And they just had the entire backlink system just taken away overnight at the whim of Google. All
right, so I will concede that press releases are dead for that reason, for what a lot of people thought online press releases were used for.
Right.
But let's talk about what press releases, and really the way that we're using them is more the original, what press releases have been used for many, many years. And that is, talking about news, announcing things that companies have done, and really it's not about SEO at all. Well, a little bit that we'll talk about either this episode or beyond. But the main thing is not the SEO. It's about the positioning and the way that press releases are done. Now, I got to say, you put together a really, really cool press release announcing our show. We had our first episode, and so this is our second episode. And so when we announced that the Authority Alchemy was live and the show was out there, the press release that you put together was, to me, a perfect goulash of a lot of different tweaks and hacks that you can use in press releases. And if someone read it really carefully, they could probably see that there's some very purposeful things that you did by design. So, why don't you talk about that? Kind of, let's call this the anatomy of an authority press release. And so kind of talk about what the anatomy of authority press release. We'll put an image of the press release that I'm talking about that we put up there at authorityalchemy.com on this post, so folks can kind of walk through there and see, what you did, why you did it, and the benefit of that.
Sure, yeah, we'll go through several of the pieces in there. The first thing I like doing with press releases is with a title, to not make it look like it's just something being announced, where it's not just, Brian Horn, Jack Mize announce a new podcast. That just immediately, somebody's eyes will just glaze over that. So you want to make it look as much like a a headline you'd see in a regular news. And there are some restrictions when you're doing press releases. You have to meet certain requirements. It can't just be an opinion piece or an essay. It does have to announce something. But like in this one, what I did, instead of just, we're announcing a new podcast, I made it, the title is New Show Tackles Taboo Topic of Manufactured Celebrity for Entrepreneurs. And so that was what I was doing with that one is a new show being announced. But I did throw the tackles taboo topic to a little alliteration in there, which, journalists like to do. So I try to throw that in there. And then just making it where it's just really almost kind of vague, where it says, new shows tackling the topic of manufactured celebrity for entrepreneurs. It almost sounds like could be like a Shark Tank type show or some other, show on a real network where it's talking about something really kind of cool and that you're not quite sure what it is, because very few people actually know what manufactured celebrity is, but it sounds so cool. I mean, it sounds like something you'd want to learn if you just, wow.
It's definitely, it has the elements. It's magnetic for one. Two, it instantly creates curiosity. So to be able to do that in one sentence versus the, Brian and Jack announce a new show, I think right there's a lot of muscle behind this compared to what it could be and what a lot of people would do as a press release. So titles are very important. In fact, I'm sure we're going to we'll probably do a show just on the headlines, because they can be done in very, very purposeful and the different techniques and styles that you would use that at. So this one, completely see this one. It's, like I said, magnetic and builds curiosity immediately.
Yep. So then when you get down into it, at the beginning, I hit on the economic crisis also, which that's like goes back into like to the newsjacking type stuff. We're going to do a whole thing on that probably. But basically, that you find some trending topic or some common topic in the in mass media that people are used to seeing news stories about, and you bring that into it also. And that, again, that makes it look more like it's a real article about something. So the whole goal with these authority press releases, or one of the big goals, is to make it look like a real article that you're being brought in on. So like this looks like it's this actually is more just about the show itself, but there are ways you can, or sometimes again, I'll make it like just more on, like I did several that were seem to be just about like, say, Obamacare. And then I'd bring in a dentist to give his opinion on it, where it's how the Obamacare is affecting like the dental industry. But that's we can get into more of those.
And I'll break in real quick because you use the term "real article," and I want to be clear that this is a real article.
It is a real article.
So we got to be careful about that, but letting folks understand that this is a real article, approved. The Wall Street Journal published this as, a bona fide piece of journalism. So, a real article, it is about something real. It's about something truthful. It's about something that's happening versus just some made up, something. So I want to make sure that
it's more of like an editorial type article.
Yes. I guess it's the way that it's the alchemy. This is the pure alchemy happening here, is the way that this is presented. So it's definitely a real article, really on the Wall Street Journal. It's just done with the alchemy method that made it much easier for us to do this than most people think that of what it really takes to get talked about.
Right. And then, then after that I go into, you'll get more to just what the meat and bones, what it's about. I give the facts about the release, which is something that needs to be done, that we do have a new podcast coming out or a new show starting. And then I get into a authority building quote that is one of mine. We have one of Jack's a couple paragraphs later. But this one just where it establishes my authority on it, where we go down and actually tell what the show is going to be about, why we're doing it, and just make it very entertaining, that I'm really coming from a very authoritative place. Which is, it's a lot of people do that, but what I do next, the next thing I'm doing there is something that I've really not seen anybody else do, which is huge. The next one is I'll read the sentence on here. It's Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and Access TV echoes Horn's statements on the importance of entrepreneurs being different. And then it goes into Cuban elaborated, and then it goes into a full quote from Mark Cuban says, "Wherever I see people doing something the way it's always been done, the way it's supposed to be done, following the same old trends, well, that's just a big red flag to me to go look somewhere else." So what I do on a lot of these releases, I'll go and find a quote from a celebrity entrepreneur or a politician or another famous person that's relatively well known. I wouldn't go like to the Oprah levels or anything like that, go crazy with it. And you find a quote from them that kind of supports what your position is. So in this case, ours was that we want to, show you people, our listeners, how to do some different type of positioning of themselves than that's ever been done before, ever taught before. And so I found a quote from Mark Cuban, a famous, celebrity entrepreneur, that's supporting that. So basically what this does, this just goes and basically almost looks like you're getting an endorsement from somebody like Mark Cuban.
Right. And so and we've got to be really clear on this. You have to be careful about this because you don't want to make it say Mark Cuban said this about Brian, right? It's clearly not that. But what you're doing is, folks, and we're not trying to, do a big, paint this picture of something that isn't real any more than journalism has been doing since journalism began. All we're doing is we're peeling back the curtains on how big journalism operates. And you've seen Spin. What was the show? Spin City. They got to peel back on exactly how, the politics has been spun. So this right here is, to me, huge that you've kind of uncovered and really shown in a one sentence this very strong, powerful tactic that has been used by high-level journalists and marketers for many, many years. And it's such a simple principle. I think it's fantastic but you just have to be careful about the way that you position it, but it is such a strong, it's the same way when people get their picture taken with a celebrity. Yeah. It's what you're doing is you're positioning yourself for the people looking at that to infer that you're hobnobbing with the celebrity, even though you may be thrown back on the other side of the red, the red velvet rope instantly after that. That's true. But that's exactly what you're doing, but you're doing it through words, and this really is a true wordsmith. It's art to me, and to be able to do this, really take notes. If you're looking at this, go to the website, read it, because this right here is one of the most powerful techniques that I think Brian has revealed, on this show yet.
Yeah, it's very cool. And the people that go through and read this, how much we pay attention. We skim read. We just go through it, and a person, a prospect of yours, possibly, if you're listening to this show and we do one of these for you, and they see it, they're not going to just dig into that and read it and say, oh, this is what they're doing. They're going to go, wow, Mark Cuban's remember, they're seeing this on the Wall Street Journal, so they're not going to think that Brian Horn's writing this. They're going to think that a top level journalist from Wall Street Journal wrote this article, and they interviewed Brian for it, they interviewed Jack, and they got some thought from Mark Cuban about it. And you're in nowhere in here am I saying any of that happened. That's just the way that people's minds work. And you're just putting it out to make a really good, interesting article, and that's just where people's minds are going to go. And if anybody asks about that, I every time I tell them no. It's one of my favorite quotes from Mark Cuban. I fit well with the story, so I used it, which is true.
Yeah, I was about to say this is Psychology 101, but it's actually Psychology 400, because this really is, because you are not telling people anything, you're allowing them to paint the picture themselves. Right. And fill in the blanks, which is really fantastic. Right.
And one of the word I use in there I use this one almost every time for these quotes, is the word echoing, because that you're just saying, listen, this guy just said the exact same thing. He's not, it's not an original, it's not a specific statement from it. Just listen, this dude said the same thing at one point in his life sometime.
Yeah. He happens to think the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. Okay, after that, we go back into we do the authority establishing quote from Jack, and it just moves along. It says something different than I said, but it moves the thought along. And then we get back into some more quotes from me. Then what we do then, this is the next little piece of the puzzle, is down toward the bottom. We have some testimonials from a person I worked with, and a person Jack worked with, and we do a couple more. And what this does, like in this one for me, I'll read this one. It says, I'll read a quote of this. I don't say the whole thing. This is from